This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It is Friday right here. We got a good show for you all today. And yes, I am wearing a picture. It's kind of weird because I am wearing a picture of myself. I know. Kind of a weird way to open a show. But yes, this is one of the new shirts we have. So insert blatant commercialism here, because that's exactly what I've done. But seriously though, it is a nice shirt. This design was made by the people over at the Letter Hack, and so what they do is they just go and they create great progressive artwork and comics. So it's like super. It's really cool that they drew this for me, and so you can see it. Like it's in the chat. You can see about getting yourself one if you're interested. So check that out. So with that blatant commercialism aside, let's get into what we're going to talk about here. So we've got Donald Trump not exactly happy with anything. And he's going to go after Obama on the H1N1. Fascinating. We also have a COVID denying Republican that is asking for thoughts and prayers. We have Donald Trump, his lawsuit in Texas. We're going to go over that. Apparently, it's not so good. Real bad. We've got Ivanka and her political future. Are they creating a dynasty? Spoiler alert. Yes, they are. And then Rush Limbaugh thinks that there's like a civil war or whatever, like an argument for secession. Yeah. Fascinating stuff. So we're going to get into that. Some of you have also mentioned the Tulsi Gabbard story. I was going to do that story today. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time. But all I can say is not good. Not good. Very bad. I'm not a fan of Tulsi Gabbard. I'm definitely not a fan of TERFs. And so she went full TERF. Not happening. Not in favor. Not in favor at all. All I can say about that is trans rights, and if you're not in favor of trans rights, then I got no use for you. So there it is. All right. Anyway, that said, let's do it. Start out. as we of course search for the vaccine, that number could have been a lot lower. Going to be an absolute disaster. And of course, that's what happened. We did nothing. It was a disaster. The American people paid the price in blood. So no, if you're going to go after Obama on H1N1, fuck off. I got no use for that. 12,000 Americans versus 293,000 Americans. Look, what it is that it's a bunch of whining. Okay, Obama, unlike Donald Trump, did his job and was able to, basically set the stage to where we have efficient administration of the government working together with private industry to be able to put out a vaccine and enact public health measures. And that kept scores of Americans from dying from that virus. Whereas Donald Trump, in his basically non-response, has led to the deaths of over 250,000 Americans. While Donald Trump was busy complaining, bitching, moaning, crying about everything other than the virus. And so not only did he deny the severity of the virus, he played it down intentionally. And then, in order to, I guess, try to make up for it, he sent out a $1,200 check with his name on it. No, it's garbage. Garbage. All right, so now social media was not happy about this. Joe Blake on Twitter said, lies, my husband had a significant role in the H1N1 response and countless lives were saved. Donald J. Trump is a murderer. Another person says, these cases and these deaths are in your head. Last I checked, even though the swine flu was a slight issue, it didn't almost destabilize the economic integrity of the entire country and certainly didn't kill 293,000 people. Yeah, we now have, of course, a response to it. An economic recession because of Donald Trump's piss poor response to the coronavirus pandemic. More. GDP says, I remember Obama taking credit for the scientists creating the H1N1 vaccine just 6 months after the first reported case. Except that, of course, that's sarcasm because it didn't actually happen. And look, if he tried to take credit for this, which he did not, Obama shut up and did his job and then was like, okay, glad that's over. Whereas Trump's like, I did the greatest thing. I did the greatest, the best, tremendous response. Only nearly 300,000 people died. It's fantastic. Oh my God. And look, here's the thing, right? If Obama tried to take credit, he'd been laughed out of the room. And here's the thing. The vaccine itself was not created as a result of the president. It was a result of actually a public-private partnership between the government and private biomedical companies that were funded, by the way, with about $10 billion through Congress from the CARES Act. So, okay. All Donald Trump had to do was put a pen in his hand and sign it. A trained monkey could do that job. And Donald Trump is about as close to a trained monkey as you could get. Now, finally, one more tweet here. Justin Dalton says, too bad all those people couldn't get the VIP treatment you and your friends got. That's right. See, here's the thing. Rudy got COVID. Donald Trump got it. And Donald Trump literally got airlifted to Walter Reed Medical Center. Okay. Was given experimental drugs that seemed to have worked. It was like a miracle cure. Tremendous. Rudy is probably getting that same cure. Why? Because he's rich and powerful. Why isn't anybody else getting it? Well, it's the same answer. Because they're not rich and powerful. They've got the best healthcare in the world, funded by us, and we don't. We can't even get Medicare for all in this country. So not all of us can even have insurance. It's pretty simple. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about us. And we know that. The only thing he wants to do is throw shade at Obama, as always, before getting kicked out the door. That's all this is. All right. Moving on. Appear to have had some internet issues here. Sorry about that. Hopefully everything's good now, though, looks like. Weird. All right, moving on. Representative David Byrd, who's a Republican from Tennessee, is he's not doing well. He's got coronavirus. In fact, he's one of at least 2 House Republicans that were hospitalized in recent months with the coronavirus, and now he is asking for your thoughts and prayers. That's right. Here's what he said on a post on Facebook. Quote, "I really need a miracle today. My doctor said if my oxygen level doesn't improve, then he has no choice but to put me on a ventilator. So please pray that God will breathe his healing spirit into my lungs. Amen." So now, a ventilator, God, that's pretty serious. And a lot of people who go on ventilators don't often make it out on the other side. And so that's a very, very serious condition. Very, very serious for a hoax. Weird. Speaking of that, right? According to the Tennessean, Mr. David Byrd was one of among nearly 70 House Republicans who recently attended a caucus meeting held in the House chamber on November 24th. A week and a half later, he ended up getting the virus. Now, reports say that he was seen on the House floor without a mask. So he wasn't wearing his mask. Well, I wish I could say that's the worst part of this. But no, it gets worse. Just days before, Mr. Byrd had hosted a dinner for dozens of his fellow caucus members at a restaurant. As we know, adults that have come down with coronavirus are twice as likely to have recently dined in at a restaurant as those who did not eat at a restaurant. Interesting. A CDC report indicates that eating and drinking at bars and restaurants is a significant risk factor for COVID-19 infection. Now, this is not entirely new information here. Why do you think that we have had closures of in-person dining? Why do you think that a lot of the states that have taken this seriously, for example, Michigan, have said, okay, what we need to do is we need to limit or close in-person dining? Like, unfortunately, there's been a lot of resistance to that from Republicans who come out and say, well, how dare you close down that Applebee's? I want to go in and I want to be served. I mean, I talked about this yesterday with Lance at the Surfs, and he and I had an excellent conversation about this, about how some of the worst people are the ones that are still dining out. And of course, they tip very, very poorly, and they're often very rude to customers. And so these are the people like Byrd who are still going out to restaurants and getting themselves and restaurant staffers sick. That's what's happening. Okay. Duh. If you're eating in at a restaurant, you're literally asking for coronavirus. And so I don't know what this guy expected. And now that he's in the hospital, he's taking up a hospital bed, which could have been used for somebody who had inadvertently, became infected with coronavirus, even if, they had masked up and things like that, because a mask, while mostly effective, somewhere in the high 90s, 94% effective if everyone around is wearing masks, it's still a possibility of getting coronavirus. And that does happen. I was reading a report earlier where there was somebody who was wearing a mask indoors, and there was someone who was unmasked about 20 feet away, who had coronavirus. That person with the mask still ended up getting the coronavirus because of that air system inside the building. And so while not 100%, the chances of actually stopping coronavirus from spreading are very, very high when both parties are wearing masks. The people that are going inside restaurants are not wearing masks. And of course, they're indoors with those air ventilation systems, which tend to spread coronavirus. And so that's why this is like, it kind of feels like a fuck around and find out kind of situation. But he already likely knew. In fact, I have proof that he already knew. That said, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how ridiculous it is to be like, oh, please, Jesus, save me. Please blow the breath of life into my lungs because my lungs are filled with the COVID. All right. Look, if God exists, why would God? Maybe this is why I'm not like a God or anything like that. Which, gosh, imagine if that happened, right? Ooh. Why would he help somebody that's so painfully dumb as to ignore the scientists? Now remember, if God created the universe, then God created the rules of the universe, correct? So now that's the way that the world works, and everything looks and acts and things like that. So now scientists, all they do is observe and test the world in order to better understand how things work, and therefore have an understanding of God, right? Or whatever you want to call it. In fact, that's originally what science was all about, trying to understand the universe and God and all that stuff. And so that is through a process of testing and observation. And you can come up with conclusions, you can test theories, you can test hypotheses, etc. That's what science is. Now, in the world of science, if you don't protect yourself from a virus by taking very simple measures, like wearing a mask and standing 6 feet away from someone and washing your hands often, well, then you're going to get the virus. Again, if you fuck around, you are going to find out. And that's exactly what happened to this man. But it gets even worse. You're going to love it. As the Tennessean points out, Byrd, as well as GOP Representative Mike Carter, who was also placed in the ICU with coronavirus in August, supported a House resolution stating that, quote, mainstream media has sensationalized the reporting on COVID-19 in the service of political agendas. So he's saying, oh, COVID-19, oh, it's being hyped up in the media. It's not really that bad. It's just the flu. You liberals are just using it to beat Donald Trump. Fast forward a few months later. Oh, God, help me, save me from this virus. Breathe the breath of life into my lungs. Oh, my God. Literally. Oops. What? Don't you look stupid? Don't you look like a fucking jackass as you're dying of COVID right now? Dumbass. And look, here's the thing. I know you guys, some of you might be thinking, God, you're being such a fucking asshole. Like, why? Well, it's just because this is another line of things that continue to happen, right? It's the same thing. People fuck around, and then when they get coronavirus, they're like, oh, please save me. Why? It's not like you didn't have the information. It has been available. We have been screaming it from the rooftops. Please be careful, wear your mask, socially distance, and you can do your part to help slow the virus so we can eventually actually also, because guess what? As much as I like to rag on Applebee's, I kind of like eating there. And I would love to take my wife out on a date one of these days. Okay? And so that could only happen if everybody does their fucking part until we get a vaccine. And even, therefore, a little bit after. Okay? A little afterwards. We're still going to have to mask up for a little bit while longer. And then maybe by the end of the year, next year, end of 2021, we can actually get back to some sort of semblance of normal. That's, of course, not really accounting for the fact that economically, Republicans have completely fucked up this country because they won't give a stimulus check or a UBI, along with corporate Democrats who refuse to push that as their main line, and have given all this extra additional money to corporations. And so completely ignoring that and the economic devastation that is going to be felt for years and years following this, okay, at least we can go out to eat. But no, you can't even manage that. You can't even do any of that. No, fuck off. I don't care. I don't care. You get what you deserve. You reap what you fucking sow. I'm so tired. And look, maybe if this guy survives, which I'm not hoping that he dies. No, if he survives, okay, if he survives and he comes out and he says, coronavirus is a serious thing. We should wear masks. We should wear masks. We should socially distance. I apologize for putting all of my colleagues and my friends and my family in danger. We should really take this seriously. Then all is forgiven. Then I'm going to say, congratulations, David Byrd. Okay, you've learned your lesson. Rational human being. That's a good response. Love it. Love it. Okay. If he doesn't, if he comes out and says, oh, which I expect this to happen because it happened with Donald Trump, because it's happening with Rudy Giuliani right now. Okay. Where they come out of isolation. This guy gets out of the hospital and says, media hoax. See, wasn't that bad. You almost fucking died. Donald Trump had to be on oxygen and he had to get his experimental cocktail of drugs. Okay. Rudy Giuliani. Oh man, I've got the miracle cure that Donald Trump had that nobody else does. That regular people can't get. So I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine, but fuck you all. I don't give a damn about you because I'm Rudy Giuliani and I'm rich and powerful. And that's what it is. And that's what I think people like Robert Wood are going to do. They're going to go back to misleading and bullshitting their constituents. That's what they're going to do. And that's what a lot of the Republicans that have already gotten it. I think it was Rand Paul that also did the same thing. Rand Paul. I mean, that's what irritates me. So I'm sorry, but these people are literally getting sick and dying to own the libs. And I'm getting tired of feeling bad about calling them out for it. Okay, I'm really getting sick of feeling bad for people like the family of Herman Cain. I don't really feel bad anymore. Okay, I'm fucking tired of it. I'm tired of it because it turns out you should take a little bit of personal fucking responsibility. It's disgusting. Okay, and so I think that if you're in this situation. And if David Byrd somehow comes across this video, which I fucking hope he does, I really hope he does, okay, then you should be held responsible if you go back to saying, oh, media hoax, it's okay, it's fine. It's not that bad, 99.8% recovery rate. Well, then fuck off. You should be held 100% for, accountable for every single person who dies as a result of your fucking stupidity and callousness. That's all I got to say. I'm fired up today. If you could tell. All right. Let's see. You got Dems who do it too and are fucking annoying. Anybody who does it's fucking annoying. Like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time. Okay. I don't have the time or the patience for this kind of just fucking rank stupidity and hypocrisy. Moving on. Speaking of stupidity, we're gonna go to Donald Trump's the pro-Trump lawsuit. You're gonna love this. I think I'm just coming with a blowtorch today. I need to Hulk out more often. You know what? Sometimes I get to a point of where I can't help it.
Amazing.
If I had more patience, I'd be a doctor. Yeah. Well, apparently anybody can be either a doctor or a fucking politician now, or anything like that. Or lawyer, as I'm going to point out. So we have some of the details from the pro-Trump lawsuit filed by the state of Texas with the overall goal of overturning the election results. So now you might have to hold on to something because, boy, this is about to rock the Supreme Court, man, and give Donald Trump the presidency. Oh, I'm just kidding. This is absolute garbage. So we're going to go through some of the brief, okay? This is a reply brief to Michigan and some of these other states that are being sued by the state of Texas. Remember, state of Texas is suing Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, I believe, and Georgia for their election results. They had the temerity, the gall to go and change their own rules for the way that they conduct their own elections. And so let me read some of this. Some of the stuff that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now, here's one. In the brief, it says, Texas does not ask this court to re-elect Donald Trump, and Texas does not seek to disenfranchise the majority of defendants' states' voters. Already, that is a ridiculous statement because that's exactly what it's there to do. That would be the result. Again, they're seeking to disenfranchise over 7 million people in certain areas, okay, in these states, in order to get an electoral college win. So, come on. But hey, do go on, okay, and we're going to both points. Texas asks this court to recognize the obvious fact that defendant states' maladministration of the 2020 election makes it impossible to know which candidate garnered the majority of lawful votes. And which votes would you, as the state of Texas, Ken Paxton, which would you consider to be lawful? Would it just happen to be the ones that voted in favor of President Donald Trump? We all know what the Paxton lawsuit is about, okay? Paxton's in a little bit of trouble. He's in some legal trouble, okay? He's got some problems with his legal briefs, okay? He's looking for a pardon. Okay, he's looking for a pardon. And that's a problem. All right. And so now I have more. Okay. And this is why this is a ridiculous lawsuit. It's part of why there's so much ridiculousness, but also it's based on nonsensical arguments, as we're going to point out. So now in the brief, it says defendant states accept that the public interest factor collapses into the merits and do not seriously dispute the merits. Instead, they warn this court about superintending a national election and future challenges to every election. Although the merits should drive the public interest, neither states nor the public have a cognizable interest in unconstitutional results. And the defendant states are wrong about the impact of acting versus not acting. So that, of course, is a whole bunch of garbage legalese. All right. Basically, what it's saying is that there are few urban centers, right? Places like Detroit, Philadelphia, etc., that had done what did it say? What is it? Now I can't find that word for some reason. But basically, they're saying that these places shouldn't be running these elections the way that they are, and they have done it poorly. In such a poor way as to somehow allow Joe Biden to win the election. And so these urban centers could have even manufactured votes for Joe Biden in order to steal it away from Donald Trump. Yes, maladministration. Those are the merits, of course, this section is referring to. Now, that entire theory is conspiratorial at best. Okay. And so there's no evidence that they were manufacturing these votes for Joe Biden in these cities. These cities are majorly Democratic cities, which were going to go for Joe Biden anyway. And so what you had comparative to the 2016 election, of course, is that you had depressed turnout because Hillary Clinton was a dog shit candidate. Whereas Donald Trump was the anti-establishment candidate, and he lit a zeitgeist among Obama voters, for some former Obama voters, as well as, of course, Republicans and independents that turned out in bigger numbers than the depressed Democrats who, had a pretty blistering primary back in 2016. And we ended up with the coronation of Hillary Clinton, which didn't sit right with a lot of progressives. And so that's that. compared to this. Now, after 4 years of dipshittery from the White House, people got sick and tired of it, especially the terrible response to coronavirus, and they threw the bum out, which happens if you're a fucking bum. Donald Trump, he's getting thrown out on his ass, but Paxton and the rest of these Republican ghouls, they're like, no. That didn't actually happen. No, they made the votes for Biden because, look, Biden's not an exciting candidate. Well, what have progressive been saying the entire nomination process? We agree. We agree that Biden is not a good candidate. We agree that he is not exciting. But the majority of people who voted for Joe Biden, guess what? We're not excited about Joe Biden. They just wanted to get rid of your ass. Simple as that. A referendum on Donald Trump. That's what it was about. Okay. And so they, for some reason, can't understand that people don't like this guy and didn't like the job that he did. So that said, getting back to the states, here's what they also argue about one of those, urban centers, okay, that voted in favor of Joe Biden, that they say couldn't possibly have been the case. Oh my God. They said this: Michigan's election results do not clearly demonstrate the will of the majority of lawful votes. There are too many questionable ballots from Wayne County and systemic violation of ballot integrity protections for absentee ballots, none of which, of course, he could ever prove in court. Why? Because they had a chance to prove it in court, and every single time, their ridiculous claims got thrown out, some with prejudice. And even today, the Supreme Court also rejected a challenge to the Pennsylvania results that have been certified and sent already. But here, there's more from this ridiculous brief. Evidence suggests, what evidence? That Mr. Biden did not win legally. And Michigan admits that it can neither confirm nor deny the lawful winner. That's not true at all. The same is true for all defendant states because the ballots are commingled, meaning absentee ballots, of which they say are not legal. Okay, so understand the difference between legal and in their words, illegal ballots or unlawful ballots are just ones that were late, meaning absentee ballots that were counted days or sometimes days after the election. Okay, and so we knew that there was going to be delays in the counting, that we weren't going to know who was going to be president or who was going to get more votes because of this pandemic that has increased absentee balloting for millions of Americans. Okay, they chose to go and send in their mail-in ballots, which are perfectly legal in many, many states, as well as ballot harvesting in many states, which, again, some Republican states have tried to curtail, try to cut back on in order to be able to challenge them later on in court to have them thrown out. And so there's more. Texas further argues that because Michigan didn't understand some of their previous allegations, that the allegations must be correct. Michigan says, okay, wait, we don't understand what you mean by these, these questionable ballots, because right now we have certified our results. And Texas looks at that and says, aha, you don't understand our allegations. That means our allegations are true. No, that's not what that means. That's not what that means. Okay? That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Again, court case after court case, no tangible evidence that there was widespread voter fraud, that there was illegal ballots being cast. None. I mean, were there irregularities? Of course. There are irregularities in every single election that has ever been. That does not mean that there is a fraud, okay? There's machine errors, there's lost ballots, there's incorrect counts. There's a lot of things that could be attributed to both human and computer error. That does not mean fraud. In fact, human error is far more likely to happen than some grand conspiracy And that's unfortunately what Republicans are alleging, what Trump is alleging. Going back to claims made against Michigan, by the way, that were rejected, witnesses said that signatures were not being verified at the TCF Center, where absentee ballots are being counted in Detroit, which is actually true, by the way. But it's not because that they weren't being verified. They were being verified at another location as per state law. So they were being verified. Other challenges, they said, oh, you wouldn't allow us to watch the ballots. That's actually not true. In Pennsylvania, this famous case of them saying, well, there was non-zero persons in the room. That means there were people in the room that were watching you. You verified the ballots and count the ballots. They admitted that. Oh, yeah, there were non-zero people in the room. And so the judge was like, then what's your problem? Well, we just don't like it that they won. That's the big problem. And that's not even the worst of it, okay? So now we have a new amicus brief that was filed today. And this is great. Now, this is to go along with the U.S. Supreme Court case from filed by Texas, okay? And apparently 2 states filed in addition to Texas to support Texas, but these states don't actually exist. I'm not kidding. According to law professor Stephen Leddick on Twitter, a lawyer named Robert E. Thomas, who claims to be the attorney of, Fallout fans, get ready, New California. New California and New Nevada. These are states that don't exist. The brief decries the purported arbitrary changing of election laws. Remember, in the states that actually exist, specifically Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia, right? These states that exist are being sued by 2 states that don't exist for changing their very real election laws because they exist. I'm not kidding. You can't make this up. You just can't. Now, here's what Thomas wrote. Part of the reason for the formation of New California State and New Nevada State, it's full of spelling errors, and this is the best part, is to stop the lawless actions of Governors Newsom and Sisolak, writes Thomas, an opinion by the court affirming a national uniform rule of law, reestablishing the supremacy of the Electors Clause of Article 2, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, will resolve some of the complaints causing the establishment of these new states. So they are creating new states in order to make some sort of point where I don't, what? This doesn't even make any sense. Okay, this is bonkers. This is insane. This is off the wall motherfucking parody. It doesn't, and yet these people are apparently totally serious about this. Among other things, the brief alleges that the same-day voter registration is a direct violation of these 2 states, these non-existent states, rights, and a violation of the 14th Amendment. I'm sorry, what? How? That doesn't make any sense. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I can smell bullshit from a mile away. That is bullshit. Total and complete garbage. Wow. All right. Additionally, here's what they said about the 14th Amendment. Additionally, there's a violation of the Equal Protection Clause, the 14th Amendment, Section 1, for those who vote after receiving an unsolicited mail-in ballot, compared to those who register and ask for an absentee ballot in the existing states of California and Nevada. Oh, okay, but that's the states are allowed to do their own elections in their own way. Okay, that is something that is a states' rights issue. They are allowed to conduct their own elections in their own specific ways and use their own election laws. Now these people are saying, this person from two fictitious states is saying, no, you can't do that because that violates the 14th Amendment. Do you believe in states' rights or do you not? Pretty sure we know the answer to that now. Wow. Just wow. Additionally, here's what they say. New California state and new Nevada state, which shown as this, are impacted because both in-person voters and absentee ballot voters are handled differently county to county within the states of California and Nevada, and differently between how voters are treated in California compared to how voters in Nevada are treated. This disparate treatment is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Both California and Nevada also allow same-day registration and voting, and those who register and vote on Election Day are treated differently from those who are registered 30 or more days before Election Day. And so, as a result, we should just throw out the results in all of those states. What about the states where Trump won? Don't they have different election laws as well? Wouldn't they also be guilty of violating the 14th Amendment? Oh, no, but that doesn't count because they go for Donald Trump. Wow. This is their great hope, everybody. This is what they're hinging on. They have hitched the wagons to this in order to overturn the election of Donald Trump. A legal election that is fair in every single metric. There has been no voter fraud. William Barr has come out and said that there is absolutely no voter fraud that they could find. None. And you think they would be pretty invested in finding it. There's nothing here. There's just, it's utter trash. Utter trash. I've never seen anything like this. This has to be one of the most insane amicus briefs I've ever seen. Could you imagine even putting your name on this as a lawyer? I don't even know if this person exists. You would think it would get you disbarred. But then again, if somebody like Rudy Giuliani can continue to practice law, where the guy's like literally melting with oil running down his face, I mean, I don't even know anymore. Insane. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. Come back. We've got Ivanka in the bunker. What's she planning to do there? The answer is not going to shock you. Stay right here. Round the Nation. We'll be right back.
I will eat your ass.
I have not loved this conversation.
Wait, oh, you're getting nervous, man.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. We have Waldorf here with you. So, before I get to the next story, by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Bernie Sanders for trying to threaten to tank one of the bills, one of the appropriations bills, in order to try to get people at least a $1,200 stimulus check. So Bernie's out there fighting the good fight, doing more than what Congress can do. It's never going to be enough, but he's trying to do what he can. There's only so much he can do. But I just wanted to let you guys know that was happening. Bernie Sanders, one of the few who's trying to fight for us. All right. Anyway, I want to thank some. I actually want to do some super chats here. So first, let me go to Dango Bango that says I effing called it. Tulsi is a turf. I called it. You were correct. Turf C Gabbard. That's what I'm calling her now. I got a friend who's going to be making a video about Tulsi Gabbard as well. And so if you're interested in watching that, that's Tiffany Starr. She's, of course, been on the live stream before. So just giving her a shout out. Check that out when that video drops, because I think she's going to be very, very hard on Tulsi. Good. All right. Anyway, Zach Sherman, thank you for that as well. Let's see. LL says, let's see. The results of COVID, critical illness, myopathy, deep vein thrombosis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, perennial nerve palsy, pulmonary embolism, stroke. It's not just the flu. Agreed. Thank you for posting that. That's a lot of stuff that happens when you don't. I mean, this coronavirus is nasty stuff. Very nasty stuff. And so if you can avoid it, I mean, you know, do everything that you can. Do everything that you can to try to avoid it. Mask up. And I just hope more people will. Yes, I did see the Louis Gohmert tooth clip. Our politicians are so corrosive and so toxic, they're literally falling apart in front of us. You got Mitch McConnell was turning black. And now Louis Gohmert's teeth are falling out. Like, what is going on with the Republicans? Like, their Faustian deal with whatever kind of evil entity from the underworld is taking its toll now. I will come for the flesh when the time is right. But before then, you can have untold power, Mitch McConnell. Dianne Feinstein also falling apart. Thank you for pointing that out as well. Telling you. Yeah. Okay. What is? You're gonna get me on a thing with Dianne Feinstein. Oh my God. I can't. I don't got time. I got a meeting right after this, so I got to get through this last story. All right. So let's do it. Okay. I forgot that I had a meeting. Let's go. One more. We've got Ivanka. I just had that picture, or not picture. I just had that reminder pop up. I was like, oh shit, I gotta go. All right. It's recently reported that Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner had purchased a lot near Miami Beach worth an estimated $28 to $30 million. Now, this is the Indian Creek area in Miami Beach, and it's known as the Billionaire Bunker, which I think is quite appropriate if you're a Trump, because Trumps are known to hide in the bunkers. So now, this place, by the way, it's got its own police force. I think, 13-member police force, gated community, probably giant walls, all that security. And I mean, it makes sense that that would be the place that you want to go if everyone fucking hates you. But also, it apparently is another good place to plot your return to politics. So now this is according to CNN's Kate Bennett. Now, she wrote that a source that is working with the Trump family has revealed that Florida is now filled with potential political opportunities for the first daughter and the family. Oh, great. Awesome. Trump, Bennett writes in her article, has not ruled out a near future run for office, nor has she publicly denied that she has political ambitions of her own. Florida, which President Donald Trump won in 2016 and 2020, provides a potential opportunity for Ivanka Trump should she choose to enter politics. Now, that is the question. Is she going to get into politics? Fascinating. That's a fascinating question. It turns out that anybody, okay, Ivanka, the way that I see her is like a moth, right? Brainless, not very smart, heads towards the nearest light source, except that light source happens to be anywhere near power, right? And I think this can apply to all the Trump family, really. At least, when it comes to like Don Jr., Ivanka, and of course, Donald. They go and they gravitate towards any source of power, but I think she's especially tuned in with that. And so Florida represents an opportunity for her to get into politics because the Trumps, it's pretty much the only place Trumps are really, really popular. And so the source backs it up by saying that there's no question that Ivanka has political ambitions. She wants to run for something, but that still needs to be figured out. And moving to Florida is a crucial first step. So if you were hoping that this would be the end of the Trump family, well, sad day for us. Apparently, they're just getting started in creating a dynasty. So now, who could Ivanka run against? I mean, how would she even get started in politics? Well, Adam C. Smith, former Tampa Bay Times political editor, and now a consultant with Mercury Public Affairs, says this: assuming she's not interested in a low-profile political office, which, come on, she's a Trump, that would leave the United States Senate as a possibility. So, could you imagine? Senator Ivanka. Are you kidding? Oh, hell no. He's hardly qualified to run anything, much less represent anyone. Now, that said, if she were to run for Senate, if this is part of her plan, well, then she would have to primary another Republican. Okay, she'd have to run a primary against somebody in whatever district, right? Well, the likely target would be Marco Rubio, little Marco himself. Little Marco versus little Ivanka. Smith says Rubio's up for re-election in 2022 and is expected to run again. But I wouldn't think that Rubio would deter her if she wanted to run, because he's a boy and he's not exactly a tough politician. Okay, Marco Rubio is kind of like it's kind of a sad sack when you think about it. Very weak, low energy boy. Okay, and so if she were to run against Marco Rubio, it's a possibility that she would crush him among Republicans. Again, this is what happened before in the 2016 presidential primary. Rubio was crushed by Donald Trump by 19 points in Florida. So, interesting. So now, later on in that piece, by the way, and this is funny. Okay, here's what Smith said. Quote, normally you'd expect a credible candidate for U.S. Senate to spend years building a political and financial network. But those normal rules would not apply to Ivanka. I think she'd be the immediate frontrunner if she ran for U.S. Senate against Rubio, given her father's popularity in the Sunshine State. Oh, because, of course, those rules would never apply to Ivanka Trump. Oh, no. See, she doesn't have to be credible. or, spend years building an actual political network and doing things you're supposed to do to run for Senate. She's the first daughter. She's the failed daughter of Donald Trump. Well, of course, she can go and get a Senate career. I mean, come on. Failed daughter of privilege, had everything handed to her on a silver platter, never worked a goddamn day in her life. Well, of course, you can go and represent us in Florida. Oh my God, if they do that, holy shit. Could you imagine? I mean, again, Florida is probably the best place for her because politically the state's an absolute shit show. It's a disaster. And the Democrats are complete garbage. I mean, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, what the fuck? Terrible, awful disaster. And look, I have friends in Florida. I feel really bad for my progressive friends because there are wonderful progressives in Florida. Farron Cousins is one of them. Nicole Sandler, also another one. You have now I can't think of his name for some reason. Jeff. Yeah. Anyway, you've got a lot of great progressives there. Okay. But Florida politically is disastrous. Terrible. Because you have a lot of terrible people that are also living in Florida. That unfortunately, there's more terrible people there who would vote for somebody like Ivanka than, people who would vote for a decent candidate. And so, look, if they manage to elect someone like Ivanka into Rubio's Senate seat, for example, well, it's just, without a doubt, it would end up being a complete and utter disaster, just like, of course, any Trump that would end up being in office. And we've already seen that with, of course, Donald. All right. That said, thank you for going around the nation with me today. Much appreciated. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you, Kathy Harvey, over on Twitch for the biddies. Much, much appreciated. Definitely love it when you guys do that because it goes to help support the show. Thank you, Tiffany, for dropping by on the Twitch channel as well. Mini Morpho, I got your. I actually have one of the mugs. That the Acid Dragon mug. I will. Let me go get that. I got the design perfect on a coffee mug. So I love it. I absolutely love it. So anyway, thank you all. I got to go to a meeting, but I will see you on Monday. Have an excellent, excellent weekend. Be sure to check out the merchandise in our Teespring store as well, because this shirt's awesome. And we'll see you all next week around the nation.
Like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
Amazing.
Silence. Mike Pounds.
There's some whores in this house.
Please clap.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.